Hello and welcome back to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audio fiction. This is the mini-series Save Your Tears, and this is part 3, Set Fire to the Rain. Massive shout out and thank you to Agatha, I think I pronounced that right, for the beautiful, stunning art in the thumbnail. I love her stuff. Go and send her some love. All her information's in the description below. She will be doing some commissions for me as well coming soon, so make sure you look out for those. I'll let you know. And make sure you send me some love by smashing that like button. Comment down below what you think of this one, and it is the final one, so yeah, let me know what you think and subscribe because there is so much more to come and February is just going to be epic. So I hope you enjoy. Part 3, Set Fire to the Rain. Cat Noir, Adrien's POV. Cat watched Ladybug's expression shatter as heartache was etched into her face, but before he could react, she darted away from him, faster than he'd ever seen her do before. He instantly regretted his words the moment they had left his mouth, especially seeing the pain they had caused. But he had to say it. He had to finally tell her how he felt. But hadn't there been too much pain delivered recently? How could he diminish the residing anger still inside of him? If he was honest with himself, he wasn't sure how he was going to repair this tear with Ladybug. But speaking those words made him realize he was finally ready to move on, to commit to Marinette with his whole heart, as Adrien or as Cat. He would leave the choice up to her. Either way, last night he had realized Adrien had to make it right with Marinette, at least for their friendship alone, and maybe as Cat, he could be allowed the other side of her heart. His ring let out a warning beep. He would transform back, feed his Kwame, and then dash off and see his princess. Oh, to lie in her arms, to feel her warmth engulf him, and the tempting idea of a kiss was enough to place a fraction of a smile back onto his face. He jumped a couple of the roofs and leapt down to the nearest alleyway. "Claws in," he said, watching the little black Kwame fly out as he flung a piece of cheese into the air. "Eat quick, Plug. I want to visit my princess."
"After what you just said to Ladybug? I don't think that's a good idea."
"Why not? I think it's the best idea. Who else can calm my thoughts, to feel loved, and I think I've finally made my choice to let Ladybug go."
"Just like that? You're giving up on Ladybug? After all this time? And you really have feelings? Love, Marinette?"
"I'm not the one who's giving up. I tried to the point it was breaking me, but I can't keep doing it. Now I have a chance to love and be loved. Why wouldn't I choose that for myself?"
"I don't think right now is the best time to visit your princess. Give yourselves time to cool down and think this through and not act like she's a rebound."
"A rebound? Where did—"
"You think I can't hear when you play those chick flicks? That's what they say, isn't it?"
"Well, yeah, but Marinette isn't Oh, why am I— Plag, you don't know what you're talking about. Marinette has always been there for me, whilst I've been falling for her. Just not allowing myself. But now I can. I will."
"You'll wish you listened to me."
Adrien rolled his eyes at the sudden love guru floating in front of him. "We'll see. Plag, claws out." Adrien became Cat again, whisking across Paris, ignoring the pain and focusing on the love of his princess. But as Cat dropped onto the balcony, he hadn't expected to see Marinette curled up in a ball, shaking from tears. "Marinette! My princess! What's wrong?" He took a step closer to her, reaching his arms out. What could have done this to her? Was it seeing Adrien again in the park, coming around to speak to her? Had it been too soon after all? Or had she been hurt during the battle? He should have walked her home, but surely the miraculous bugs would have healed her, putting her right. He took another step closer, leaning down, wanting to engulf her in his arms, to comfort her like she did for him. Princess. No, no, please, no. Marinette, you are scaring me. What is wrong? You can tell me anything. I'm here for you. No, you're not. You hate me. What? Marinette, it's me, Cat. Your kitty? I would never. Look at me. Please, look at me. Marinette uncurled her arms around herself and peeled back her face from her knees. Oh, the vision of pain on her face, washed with tears, was too much to bear. He took another step closer, crouching down in front of her with his arms out. But instead of allowing him in as he had expected like the night before, she held her hands out and pushed him back, almost knocking him off balance. Princess, what? Don't call me that. I'm not your princess, Kitty. I'm either heartbreak or nothing. But I'm not your princess, no matter how much I wish I was. I don't understand, Marinette. Last night, we kissed and you... Last night, I was broken. I let it fall, my heart, and as it fell, you rose to claim it. It was the spell of the dark, and I was tipping over the edge until you kissed my lips and saved me. He didn't understand what was happening. What was she saying? Speaking in riddles? It made little sense. Did she regret the kiss? Did she regret telling him she was his? Please don't say it was so. He wouldn't lose her again. Oh, all he wanted to do was to reach out and cradle her cheek in his glove, calming her mind, showing her she was indeed his princess in every sense of the word, to utter the words he had been so fearful in doing before now. Then what are you saying? My princess! My hands. They were strong, gripping on tight to an ideal of you. But my knees were far too weak to stand in your arms without falling to your feet. She closed her eyes, taking a steady breath as he watched her fighting back the storm of tears. But there's a side of you that I never knew until now, making sense to all the things you'd say. They were never true. Not to me. Because your words were never true to the real me. More riddles that made little sense. What did she mean by it? The real me? How can you say that, Marinette? I see you. The real you. I meant every word I said to you. Which words? In the morning, or in the afternoon, or under the moon? Which words, Cat? Which ones did you mean? Because I don't know which version of me you love, or which version of you I love. She blocked her face off with her curled up fingers again as he tried to pull them back down. Marinette, what do you mean? Which version, or when I spoke to you? He couldn't help getting flustered in frustration. Why couldn't she just simply talk to him? He encouraged one hand down, but the other held tightly shut, clenched into a fist. Oh, forget what I said. It doesn't matter. I don't matter. None of it matters anymore. She burst out, taking a sharp intake of breath. She drew her eyes to his with a pleading stare that tore at his heart. Because it's all my fault. I have failed. I have failed you. Everything I did, all that I gave up, and for what? Tell me, Cat, what did we do it all for? It's not like I'm any closer to finding out and winning the game I and you play. You would say would always win. Always win for what? Maybe if you find someone better, someone more worthy, you would find a way to win. Because I can't do it anymore. Especially now. Knowing how much you hate me. That loving me was dumb, dark, and cheap. Her hands released its hold, opened and allowed 2 silver earrings to tumble from her palm, dropping onto the balcony. Take them and go! Marinette? There was a thick fog inside of his mind, blocking out the path he should take in front of him. Suddenly finding himself lost. It was too much. What she said was too much. How could she ever think he hated her to the point she gave? He picked up the polished metal studs, rolling back and forth in his gloved hand. They belonged to Ladybug. That fact he knew. Was his princess? His lady? Giving up because of him? No! No! I won't give in to you, Shadow Moth! Marinette called out in pain, stealing Cat's attention back from this new discovery, only to be punched with his latest one. He stared at the dark purple shadow forming across her eyes. He quickly placed the earrings into a slim pocket and grabbed hold of her shoulders. Marinette, fight it! You are strong, stronger than I think you realize. You are wrong. I love you. We will get through this together. No, I'm not. She shook her head, letting out one last scream. Run! For a single second, he watched the fight ebb away from her, remaining statue still. But he couldn't risk hanging around, not now he had both Cat and Ladybug's Miraculous on him. He had reached Notre Dame before he saw his princess, his lady, floating into the air, turning a glowing white from her hair to her skin, to her ethereal white dress, as the sky unleashed a downfall of rain. He couldn't help but stare at her, knowing he should sprint, hide, come up with a plan. And yet, as he watched, he could swear she was glowing brighter than the moon itself against the night sky. I am Hades. I bring you rain through my tears and grief. My gift for you, so that you too can expose your feelings. But I set fire to the rain. What had he done? What had become of his princess? The torrential rain washed over him as he felt a cleansing of his feelings. What was this power she had? She twirled in the sky and faced his direction now, slowly coming towards him. But his limbs felt heavy, burdened. Do you feel it, Cat? Do you sense the rain burning into you? Finally, I get to see your true feelings. Instead of the lies you spoke as I watched it pour, as I touched your face. Let it all go, for I see it all now. The truth, 'cause I heard it screaming out your name. I know your name. She floated closer to him like an ethereal being, with white flames dancing on her skin. He had to run, get away from her so that he could save her. If he made it to the access door on the roof, blocking out the rain, would that be enough? Escape through the church and hide? Where? Where could he hide? Who could help him? He counted to 3 and forced every strength he had into his legs and darted across the tiles. Cat Noir, there is no point hiding. I know you. I can help you know yourself and expose the fear, the anger, the love. Join me and we will hold no more secrets and be together. Cat, ignoring his princess, refusing to call her by her akumatized name, dashed across the ceiling grates and down the old spiral stairs that took him directly to the sewers.
Cat, stop!
We need to talk. A high-pitched voice called out, taking him off guard. He did as it commanded and searched around as a cute red kwami floated out in front of him.
Tiki, how long? Ladybug? Marinette?
Find somewhere to hide while Plag and I explain some things to you. He gave her a brief nod and kept heading to the sewers. He stopped in the usual nook he and Ladybug would use. Or should he say Marinette? It made sense, and yet it didn't. She had said those words to Cat. To him only then, a few hours later, flip the emotions and confess love? Whilst he did what? Repeat her words and how he had spoken to Ladybug? Marinette, knowing how much pain that caused her. No wonder she thinks I hate her, when in reality he loved her more than life itself. Claws in, he muttered, wrapping his arms around himself, shielding against the bitter chill in the dank space.
Hey kid, don't you dare say I told you. Hey, I wouldn't, but you...
Stop it!
Tiki glared at Adrien and then at Plag.
Both of you! Now Marinette, and yes, Ladybug, needs our help. We need to focus and come up with a plan. But what's most important is that Adrien, you can't run around this city fighting her on your own with both the cat and Ladybug Miraculous. If she or Shadow Moth got hold of you, it's game over. Then what am I meant to do? You tell me, because what I thought was best... Adrien shot Plag a warning look not to speak. Oh, this is my fault. What I said to her as Cat and Adrien, I still can't. It's too much. Tiki flew in front of his face and gave him a look he had never seen nor thought she would ever show. She loves you, both sides of you, and you? I love her. The whole of her. I always have. I just never thought she could. His voice veered off.
A blind kitten.
Plag! Tiki scolded. But in a way, he's right. Both of you were blind to one another, to the other side of each other. It was so hard to know and not say.
Yeah, tell me about it, Sugar Cube. I mean, some of the things. Now is not the time for that. Used to.
Adrien raised his eyebrows at the pair.
But I get it. We were blind. What does that have to do with saving Marinette now from the akuma?
For Marinette, Ladybug was another person she would transform into. But it wasn't her. She doesn't feel worthy enough to see it, that it's all her, when she believes it's my powers that makes her that way.
That's not true. Now I know. It makes sense, you know? I can see it in all the things she does for people. How she will stand up and fight for people. Her friends. Be bold and brave.
But she doesn't see that. If you ask Marinette, she would say clumsy, designer, and a nervous fumbling mess in front of, well, you.
Get to the point, Sugar Cube. We have to.
Plag stopped talking when he received the same look. The point is, now she knows you're Cat, and not believing she is worthy of calling herself Ladybug, she wasn't worthy of your love. You never saw Marinette like that.
Calling her your friend?
Plag quickly sealed his lips shut again and ran a finger across his smirk for Tiki.
But I did. I do. I mean it. I have been in love with all of her for a while, but I never thought she saw me that way. I would ask and she said no.
Then you need to tell her that. You see the real her.
I told her.
No, Cat told her. Adrien hasn't.
But how can I get to her when she is Hyades? I can't do this without Ladybug.
You're right. I think Cat needs to offer Ladybug Miraculous to Alya so she can become Scarabella.
I mean, she was good that one time. She's no Ladybug. No, Marinette. But I will do it if it means helping my princess. I will do anything for her.
You can trust her, but she must not know your identity, Adrien, as Cat. Adrien nodded as Tiki flew up to his cheek and gave it the lightest of cuddles. He needed that. You have this, Adrien. You can do it. I believe in you, that you will save our girl. Follow your heart.
Thanks, Tiki. If only other Kwamis were like you.
He threw Plag a look that made his little friend cross his paws in a huff.
Let's do this. Let's save Marinette.
Tiki flew back into the earrings. Plag held one of his paws up to stop Adrien from calling out.
Wait, kid. Tiki is best at the whole, But I too believe you can do this. Have faith in yourself, and together we will bring back your princess. Then you can do the whole, I should have seen, it was you all along, blah, blah, blah.
Then Plag did the unexpected and hugged Adrien's other cheek. Adrien gave his little friend a light pat on the back.
Thanks, buddy. That means a lot, and I know you have my back. Claws out.
Cat Noir pushed open the covering as an unexpected waterfall of the cumatizing, freezing rainwater descended on top of him, instantly flooding his mind with a whirlpool of thoughts and emotions. A sense of frustration pushed its way to the front. Oh, how much time he had wasted in the sewers talking about his feelings when he should have been fighting. No, that was the rain talking. He needed to clear his mind and focus. Jumping the last couple of steps, he landed in the now flooded streets of Paris as the torrent of rain continued to pour. He glanced around at the people gathered in the street. Some seemed to rejoice, kicking up the water. There were two fighting in the middle of what should be the road, but now a flowing stream, whilst others stood frozen with depressive expressions ingrained on their faces as their tears blended in with the toxic water. But what could he do? Go around and force people back into their homes to take shelter from their own emotions? There were at least 10 to 15 people in this one street alone. What would he do about all the others? What was it Ladybug used to say? Don't focus on the one, but on defeating the akuma to save them all. Relying on the tiny ladybugs to transform everything back to normal. But if there was no ladybug, there was no lucky charm, and no way to save them all. What was the point? A wave of hopelessness crashed down on him, pushing him under with the weight of responsibility. Oh, he couldn't do this. He was useless. He was only Cat Noir, the one who destroyed what he touches, or sacrifices himself so that Ladybug can save the day. That was his role. He closed his eyes so the images of the past few days flashed inside his mind on a continual loop, freezing him to the spot as the water rose higher up his legs. Cat Noir, it was us denying our emotions that caused all this. Our belief in an ideal love instead of listening to our hearts. But I can fix this now. Give me yours and Ladybug's Miraculous, and I will transform the world to how it should be, where you and me together. We don't need to hide how we feel. Heidi's soft voice filtered through his thoughts as a glowing white light shone in front of him. No! Cat! Stop! A familiar voice called out, but the light blinded him from whom.
Shelter!
A green orb came down between him and the light, blocking out the rain. Slowly, the misty thoughts and images faded from his mind, bringing him back to the present. He shook his head as if to clear the last of the remaining emotions.
Dude, I thought only dogs shook to get dry.
The sound of his best friend caused Cat to spin around and saw Carapace standing behind him, holding out his shield.
Buddy, Oh, I'm glad to see you. But what are you wearing and how did you...
Cat gestured at the hazmat suit over the top of his super suit.
It's a long story, but basically thanks to Rena Rouge.
Carapace pointed out to her on the other side of the bubble, wearing a similar outfit to his buddy in a defensive stance, ready to take on Marinette. He had to hand it to his friend. The idea of the outfit was clever and quick thinking.
But the idea of wearing these hazmat suits was mine. We stepped out for a minute and felt the effects. Then I remembered her dad had these suits spare from a cleaning job at the zoo. Something to do with elephants. Anyway, it covered you from head to toe.
Carapace's breath steamed up the plastic shield covering his face.
Not the best at fighting, but better than just standing around, looking lost as the villain. Hyades? Marinette? Yeah.
Cat let out a sigh.
Dude, we have your back. You're not fighting this alone. We'll all save Marinette. She means a lot to us too. Thanks, buddy. I think the next step is to get inside. I need to speak to Rena. There's a door open across the street. If we go, she'll follow.
Cat nodded, glanced at where Carapace was pointing, and then at Rena Rouge, who was bathed in the glowing white light from the floating ethereal Marinette. Seeing her so close, and how different she looked, washed in white, she lacked the warmth, the colour of his princess, bringing a coldness to his Marinette. Swearing to himself he would risk it all to save her. He dropped his reaching out hand to her and focused back on Carapace.
Let's move now,
Cat said with a surge of determination. They moved as one, with Rena following behind. Carapace shouted out,
"Unshield!"
as they dashed further into the building, with Cat going first. He couldn't help but grin at his two friends dressed in their strange outfits, standing in front of him.
I'm so glad to see you both. I was actually on my way to find you, Rena Rouge. We need to talk. Alone.
Rena nodded and turned to Carapace. Babe, stand guard and warn us if we need to move. He agreed with a smile, one that Cat suddenly found himself envious of. They walked down the narrow corridor in silence until they found a storage cupboard. It was cramped, but needs must. He pulled the hanging down switch as a single bulb gave off a low light, and saw Rena removing the outer suit before calling, "Trix, let's rest," as an orange light filled the tiny space. "Do you have them then? Ladybug's earrings?" Alya said in a serious tone, holding out her hand. "Sorry, Cat." She placed one earring in. "It's just a lot to see Marinette like that. You know, don't you?" Her eyes searched his as she placed in the other.
Yes. It happened in front of me.
He watched as Tiki zoomed out of the earrings and gave him a warning glance.
Cat was visiting my princess and
he knew he couldn't say any more. "Tiki, I know that look you're giving Cat, but I need to know what happened to my best friend if we're gonna save her. Keeping me in the dark won't help anyone, especially Marinette." Cat loved how protective Alya was of Marinette. Their own bond was special, beyond love and family. Sister souls.
Well, I know Adrien paid her a visit before the Akuma battle, and then after the battle, I said something I'm not proud of. I know. And then when I went to pay Marinette a visit...
So, you're telling me, Cat, because of Ladybug's rejections, you shifted your attention to Marinette when she just gotten her heart broken by Adrien? Cat nodded, keeping his head mainly low, not able to cope with the glare that was issuing from his friend. To only find out they are the same person? Then tell me, Cat, what did you say to her that made her so broken that she couldn't fight against an akuma?
It's more complicated than that, Alya. It's hard to explain.
then you better find a way to explain to me, Cat. Because the person out there isn't my best friend. She isn't Marinette. She isn't Ladybug. She is Hyades. So we better find out where the akuma is hidden or break her free from Shadow Moth's hold on her. I didn't see the butterfly. She just renounced her Miraculous, and I was distracted by the fact Marinette was Ladybug. I only realized when the shadow appeared across her face as she cried out. But Alya, that wasn't the only thing. He refused to look at Tiki. He knew what he was risking. She had figured out my identity. I think that's what broke her. He didn't need the effects of the emotional rain to feel the tearing sensation in his heart at hearing the words spoken out loud.
Cat Noir, you shouldn't. And Alya, you know you can't know both.
Tiki floated between the pair.
Alya, say the words and go and save Marinette. That is the only option we have here.
Tiki, I get it, but the rules have changed. This is for Marinette. Alya ignored the glare from Tiki and focused in on Cat. So, she knows who you are. Under the mask, and you discovered who she was? And what? Disappointed? Why would that lead to an akuma? Unless... She stared at him, searching his face, and then raised her eyebrows. Oh, ginger snaps! I see it now! The mess you two have tangled around yourselves? Yeah, it's a mess. But I still love her, Alya. I want to be with her. But she thinks I hate her. Because of what I said to Ladybug before. I just snapped and said things I shouldn't have and didn't mean. You say you love her, which I already knew. She shot him a knowing look. But she doesn't. Believe me, I know. What can I? This is Marinette. So she needs Adrien. He's the only one who can convince her to fight Shadow Moth. She needs the boy she had been head over heels in love with for 4 years. So much she denied her feelings for Cat and anyone else who came along. Do you think he could do that for her? He would do anything for her. He loves her more than anything. She smiled at him for the first time and patted him on the shoulder as if he'd just passed the first test, knowing the hardest challenge was yet to come. Good. Now we have that cleared up. Tiki, spots on. Standing in front of him was Scarabella and not his lady. Oh, how much he missed her, yearned for her. Cat? So, I was thinking, you go and find Adrien, shooting him a side wink. I will distract her with the help of Carapace, so Adrien can say he knows what he needs to say. With the plan in place, Cat darted out the back entrance of the building and made his way to the nearest place he could transform to Adrien. Instead of fighting the rain, he used it to help focus on his emotions for Marinette, and finally have the courage to confess it all to her, while Scarabella discovered the akuma, or he could free her. They were risking a lot not having Cat there, but Alya had been right. Marinette needed Adrien, her best friend, who she loved. A warm glow erupted inside of him as her words sank into him. He had been so consumed in trying to prove how sorry he was, to be worthy of her. Part of him hadn't believed his amazing Marinette had loved him. Him, Adrien. Truly knowing him without the mask and all his faults, family and passions. She had been there through it all and still loved him. He turned the corner and took a steady breath as he waded through the water, realizing how much easier it was with the suit on. but came to a stop as he took in the full impact of Hyades, while she battled against Scarabella and Carapace. Cat Noir! Are you going to allow your friends here to fight for you? You know you'll have to face me at some point and stop running like a scaredy cat. But once I take this Ladybug's imposter's earrings, I will find you. He could do this. He had to do this, no matter what, for his love. Marinette! Adrien called out, focusing solely on her blue eyes, which hadn't changed. Marinette! I know you are still in there, and I need you to break this hold Shadow Moth has over you. Hyades stopped and stared at him, coming towards her. Adrien, you have come here believing you can do what? Save me? You don't think Cat is capable, but Adrien is? I have come here to fight for the woman I love. And which one would that be? A lady or a princess? There is only one. She is everything. But I should have seen it earlier and not waited for when I held you. To lay in your arms, just me with you. I realized I could happily stay there, to close my eyes and feel you here forever. Adrien pointed to his heart and saw her cold expression shift slightly. It was working. You and me together is all I want. I know nothing is better than holding you in my arms, smelling the sweetness of vanilla in your hair, to watch the rosy blush form on your cheeks, to feel the surge of excitement as I kiss your lips. No, nothing is better than being in love with you. He watched as Hyades shook her head from side to side as the purple shadow reappeared across her eyes. She was fighting it. Marinette, I love you, all of you. But I was also a fool, 'cause there's a side to you that I never knew. I never knew you were my all until I lost you. But now I understand all the things you'd say and the games you'd play with my heart. Me? I wasn't the one playing the games. Adrien gave her a cat smirk, seeing color coming back to her skin, acting more like his lady. Somehow you would always win. Her serene expression broke as her anger blush flushed across her cheeks and narrowed her glare. I never won. You know how much it took for me to speak to you? Okay, compose yourself. It's working. He is breaking through. Yeah, you would always win. My heart, my affection, my love. That's not true, Adrien. I never had your heart, your affection, nor your love. I wish for it, but you never gave it to me. You were the one playing games with my heart, so much I set fire to the rain and threw us into the flames. He edged closer as she descended towards the ground and the flames on her skin disappeared. What we said to each other, when you repeated back my words, it felt like the hope was gone and love fell from our grasp. I couldn't stop it. Something died in me, 'cause I knew that was the last time you would see me as anything other than the one who hurt you. Not knowing before it was the last time at receiving your love. The rain eased as she clenched her fists to the sides of her face. You didn't know this, but sometimes I would wake up by the skylight, using it like a door with possibilities. That heart you caught, not knowing it was mine, must always remain with you. It will be waiting for you. Adrien glanced over at Scarabella, who encouraged him to keep going.
Marinette, I see you now. I see the woman who I have loved for the past 4 years, wishing and dreaming I could be with you. You own my heart, whether or not you want it. It is yours. It will always be yours. All I ask is one last chance to prove it to you. Would you give me that?
Stepping closer to her, reaching out his hands, he saw the shadow return. Shadow Moth was trying to control her.
Fight for me, Marinette. Fight for us. For our love. And now there are no more secrets. We have a chance. Please, Marinette. Do you love me? Ah!
She let out a scream as a wave of purple light erupted out of her, transforming her back to Marinette. They stood apart, tears in their eyes, staring at each other. She rolled her lips between her teeth, seeing the sorrow on her face. Yes. He could barely make the word out, but she confirmed it with a small nod. I do. I love you. His legs couldn't move fast enough towards her, wrapping her into his arms as she collapsed into the embrace.
I love you, Marinette. I am so sorry for what I said to you. I never meant to cause you pain, to cause all...
Adrien, let's not. Let's just agree to forgive one another and start afresh, knowing I love you and you love me. She buried her face into his soaking shirt as the rain turned into a drizzle.
That sounds perfect to me, my princess. If I can still call you that.
She leant her head back a little and raised her eyebrows at him, causing a chuckle to break out of his chest. She reached a hand to his wet face, part rain, part tears, and ran her fingers where his mask would normally be. I'm still getting used to it. Knowing, loving both sides of you.
So, you're not disappointed that it's me, as I thought it might have been one of the reasons?
No, Adrien, never. It happened because of me. I was angry with myself for what I put you through, that it was all my fault, and I'm so sorry.
I thought we weren't going to do that. Starting afresh?
She nodded her head against him and gave a little shiver in his arms. In the background, they heard Scarabella call out, "Miraculous ladybugs!" allowing the swarm to race around the city, erasing it all. She edged closer. I'm not gonna disturb. I will feed and look after Tiki. Let you two have some time. I will drop round later. Good to have you back, bestie. Thank you, Alya. Marinette smiled at her friend and clung on to him a little tighter.
Let's get you home
and rest. He peeled back a piece of hair glued to her face before resting his hand on her cheek. Only if you stay with me. Don't leave me. I need you. He could see the panic forming across her face and tears building in her eyes.
Never. I'm never leaving you again. I will never walk away from you. Wherever you go, I will follow, now and always. It's me and you against the world, my lady. So, save your tears for another day, okay?
He gazed into her ocean eyes and leaned in a little closer, feeling her shift in his arms, raising on her tippy toes.
I would like to kiss you now.
He breathed onto her lips. Her hands reached up, combing through his damp hair, pulling him in tighter as she kissed him in response. It was different to the one they had shared as cat and princess. This was more tender, filled with love, followed by an explosion of passion, causing the two to break away breathless.
Wow, that was... I love you so much, and I think my cup just filled over.
The sweetness of her laugh made his heart skip a beat, knowing they were both blushing like crazy. Thank you for listening to the final and last part of Save Your Tears. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit epic. Make sure you smash that like button. Comment down below what you thought of it. And make sure you subscribe. Support this channel, support me. And there is so many more stories to come. You won't be disappointed. And there is so many more to catch up on in the meantime. And I hope you are good. And I will speak to you soon. Bye.